Hey. Good Tuesday morning to you. 7:12, a little bit late today. Not too bad, though. Just getting stuff situated over here. I'm ready to talk about those firearms again. It's in the news again. Once again, these firearms for a lot of different reasons. But we talk to them about. When we talk about them, we talk about marijuana and how it relates to that. So we've done shows on this before, done posts on it, done a lot on this, but it seems that the message still gets lost. Still seems people don't really necessarily understand what the laws are when it comes to owning guns and being a medical marijuana patient or a recreational marijuana user. So the majority of people that I come in contact with, when you ask them, how come you don't have a medical marijuana card? They come up with a couple of reasons. One of them is it costs too much. The other one is I don't want to be on a registry or something. One of the main ones that you hear here in Florida is I don't want to give up my gun rights. I don't want to give up my guns. I need my guns. They're not going to take my Second Amendment rights away. And it's understandable considering federal law considers marijuana a Schedule I substance, and firearms and illegal drugs don't go hand in hand. You get harsher sentences when you have that. So it stands to reason. But you also have legal medical marijuana cards issued by states that also issue concealed carry permits. And we get a lot of confusion when it comes to can you be a medical marijuana patient and A, own a gun, B, have a concealed carry permit, or C, buy a gun. Purchase a gun and own a gun are two different things, right? So there's the confusion comes in when it comes to the concealed carry permits. And they've been in the headlines lately because the governor of Florida has proposed a constitutional carry law which would allow people to have these concealed carry permits automatically so that you don't have to apply for them, which is really kind of an interesting perspective. I'm not sure the logistic kind of efficacy of something like that, but it has put this in the news again. And the other thing that has put it in the news is that our elected commissioner of agriculture in the state of Florida, Nikki Fried, has filed a lawsuit against the Biden administration. That's right. Nikki Fried is a Democrat, and she is suing the Biden administration, other Democrats, because there is a question on the DEA form or ATF form. I'm sorry, not DEA form. I believe it's the ATF form. My bad. There is a question on the firearms transaction record form that is issued by the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Bureau. And that form is required to be filled out anytime someone purchases a firearm in the United States. You used to be able to go to gun shows and buy from private dealers, but I believe they've made this form required by even private sellers now. That's something that you'd have to check in the gun industry, but this form is required by anybody licensed to sell firearms. You go into a gun store, if they're licensed to sell firearms, you have to fill out this form, and it's short form, only a couple of pages, but there is a question on this form. Question 21E is the question that causes all the trouble. And that reads, are you an unlawful user of or addicted to marijuana or any depressant, stimulant, narcotic drug, or any other controlled substance? You an unlawful user of or addicted to marijuana or any depressant, stimulant, narcotic drug, or any other controlled substance. That seems pretty straightforward, that if I'm a medical marijuana patient, then I should be covered. But there's more. It says in bold letters next, warning, the use or possession of marijuana remains unlawful under federal law, regardless of whether it has been legalized or decriminalized for medicinal or recreational purposes in the state where you reside. That's right. It's saying that even if it's legal in your state, it's still federally illegal. And if you check yes, you're supposed to check yes, or else it's lying on a federal form. You're supposed to check yes if you are a medical marijuana patient. And the reason that it comes down to medical marijuana patients and not necessarily recreational users or adult use users or people that aren't registered as a patient is because then it becomes about testing and seeing if you have marijuana or you use marijuana, and they have to prove that. When it comes to having a card, it's almost like you're admitting it already, and they have a database. So they have a database of people who have these cards. They even have transactional records of you purchasing marijuana, and then they also have the record of you purchasing this firearm. So if those two things cross, then you've got some issues. So if you've lied on that federal form, you're going to get in trouble for that. And if you check, yes, you don't get your gun. So this has a zero to do with the concealed carry permit. There is no question on a concealed carry permit form that relates to marijuana. There's nothing about concealed carry that in the state of Florida anyway that relates to cannabis. Nothing. It's completely about owning and purchasing the firearm. So let's say that you are a proud Floridian and have your weapons already since you're a child, and then you go to get your card, and now you own these weapons, but you also have a card. Technically, you are totally okay. You haven't lied on a federal form. You haven't, you aren't using something illegally in your state, and you should be in the clear. Nikki Fried, our Commissioner of Agriculture, is suing the Biden administration to get rid of this question here and allow people that use medical cannabis to have a firearm, to purchase firearms. And it's an interesting, debate because initially both Democrats and Republicans were shocked. Like, what is going on here? Why is this happening? There's a Democrat supporting gun rights, and the heads are exploding on both sides. And that includes the gun rights activists. And the gun rights activists initially came out and were very upset about this, trying to make guns more accessible. And some of them withdrew their support for Nikki Fried. But what happened was Nikki started explaining what she was doing and how this is constitutional, and how taking away gun rights from people that are using a medication to treat pain is unconstitutional. There's no reason that person should not be able to purchase a gun, or there's no reason that person should have their Second Amendment rights violated. So a good example is David Weissman, right? Tweeted, right? This is a tweet that he said, I deleted my thread regarding my initial withdrawal of my endorsement of Nikki Fried. Right? That means he put up a thread saying that I withdraw my support of Nikki Fried because of this. And now he's saying that he deleted that thread. I didn't have all the facts of what medical marijuana could do and assumed it was used for mental health. I have PTSD, and because of that, I decided not to own a gun. And I believe those who have severe mental disorders shouldn't own weapons. I've learned that medical marijuana is not just used for mental health, but it can be used for physical pain too. And if a person is mentally responsibly fit, they have the constitutional Second Amendment right to own a gun. Nikki Fried's actions will show she will defend the Constitution, and I owe her campaign an apology for jumping the gun of a terrible article that didn't really explain the situation in full detail. Because this is why my mistake, I decided not to withdraw my endorsement. And this is kind of like, what? People like admit that they made mistakes? Crazy. This is, it's definitely, I feel, politically charged, as I think everything in this state is. I think most actions in this state tend to fall on the extreme side of things, and like getting rid of concealed carry permits altogether, things like that. And even though there's a political aspect to this, the top Democrat in the state is Nikki Fried, and she's going to be running for governor. Doing something like this always has a political twinge to it. But at the same time, we had Nikki Fried back maybe 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, 4 years ago now, at one of our events. And this was the hottest topic in the marijuana community when it came to the Commissioner of Agriculture. So I can only imagine that she's been getting this question from this community for the past 4 years about owning guns, buying guns, concealed carries, and medical marijuana cards. Nikki Fried is a medical marijuana card holder. Her sister works over at Move, one of the dispensaries. Her husband used to be CEO of Cetera. She's very involved in the marijuana community. And I do think that this is one of those big issues that someone needed to take up. And I think she's tired of answering the questions. And I think she's tired of it being this kind of gray area and wants to clear it up, because there is this little gray area of what if you use the gun? What if you use the gun to defend yourself in a legit way? But you are a medical marijuana card holder and you have cannabis in your system. Federally, that's not a good combo. On the state side, it should be okay. But what happens if you're tried in federal court? That's what I think is at the core of this, is that kind of loophole. If you already own the gun, it's okay. If you use the gun, that's where people are starting to think about that. Like, what are my liabilities if I use this gun on the federal and state level? So making it clear, crystal clear, that people have this right to own the gun, even if they're a medical marijuana patient, is very important. It's really important to make it clear, and not this kind of gray area that everybody debates and talks about. And we put up a post and we get tons of comments and hits and people arguing all sorts of different perspectives when it comes to this. Personally, I'm a big fan of concealed carry pistols. I think levels the playing field for women. I don't think you're gonna be able to get rid of deadly weapons altogether. They've been around for a long time. And do I think people need machine guns? Not really. But then again, you look at Ukraine and you're like, oh, maybe, I don't know. But I think it kind of levels the playing field when it comes to women. And I feel, these days especially, I think women need to protect themselves, especially after all this stuff comes out of how, women are historically treated. So I think that levels the playing field. So like a person my size isn't intimidating, a woman much smaller than me, because she can just shoot me in the face, right? Do I wish it was a stun gun and didn't kill people? Of course, but I don't live in utopia, and I can't make that stuff happen. I can't just get rid of all the guns and make them, stun guns. Well, it was a great Family Guy episode where they got rid of all the guns and they got invaded by aliens. And nobody had any guns to shoot back. Man, that was like in the 90s. It was a 90s episode. I think there was the Y2K episode where only the Twinkie factory survives. Anyway, did want to give a good shout out to our good friend of the show, Jamie Pruitt, who had his daughter Jorga or Horga. I don't know if the J is an H sound or not. And I just wanted to send a big congratulations from myself and Nurse Colleen. Nurse Colleen's not here, but look, I have her nameplate. Nurse Colleen, I got to change this over here to Sessa, because they're married. And this is me. I should put this up here, right? That's my name. These are from the Florida Cannabis Festival. I mean, not Florida, Pennsylvania Cannabis Festival. We did the moderating over there. And then here's a flag we can all get behind, right? Made in America by Stoners, 420 Print Media. Love it. All right. That's all for today. Hope you guys got a little bit of information. Maybe there's more questions. So hit us up on the Instagram at Florida Cannabis Coalition or at Canadelic Miami, and on the Facebook as well. And I'll see you mañana. Peace.